Okay, welcome. We are studying Parsha, and we are using this book of Rashi, and this is an art scroll. I know we usually go on Safaria.org and we read everything off of there. We're going to do something different today. Join me on Safaria.org, or get your handy dandy King James, or get your handy dandy Tanakh. But I'm going to read from the Rashi because this has Rashi commentary. So usually I can just drop down and see towards the bottom of the page the commentary that Rashi has. So I'm going to do it this way, and I hope that I entice you to purchase this Rashi commentary set from Art Scroll, that you could just have it at your fingertips. If you are in a financial bind and you cannot purchase Rashi, I would like you to go to our we have a video on it where we show you. It's called Torah Starter Kit, and you'll see different ways you can get Rashi online for free, and there's different options. Okay, but right now we're going to do this option. So, all right. So let's start. We're going to be starting in Devarim, Perek 11, Pasuk 26. And just make sure I got the right video. So, let's see. Here we go. See, I present before you today. Oh, we getting right into the good stuff. Oh, wow. Really? Wait. Okay, so we did. I had to pause for a second because that just took. We getting right into that right there. Oh, my goodness. Okay. See, I present before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing that if you listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God, that I command you today. And the curse, if you do not listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God. And if you stray from the path that I command you today to follow, you stray from the path to follow the other gods. Let me read that again. It's appalling. If you do not listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God, and you stray from the path that I command you today to follow the gods of others that you did not know, it shall be that when Hashem, your God, brings you to the land to which you come to possess it, then you shall, let me read that again, because let me just scratch all that and do all that again. See, I present before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing is if you listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God, and that I command you today. Full stop. That's the blessing. Did you listen? The curse. If you do not listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God, and you stray from the path that I command you today to follow the gods of others that you did not know. That's the curse. Why does it sound so weird? Okay, so the blessing here could be understood to refer to that which appears in the following verse. Okay, so Rashi said keep reading. All right, so we're in Pasuk 29. It shall be that when Hashem, your God, brings you to the land to which you come to possess it, then you shall place the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal, and they are not on the other side. Are they not on the other side of the Jordan, far beyond it in the direction of the sunset, in the land of the Canaanite that dwells in the plain far from Gilgal, near the plains of Moreh? For you are crossing the Jordan to come and take possession of the land that Hashem your God gives you. You shall possess it, and you shall settle it. You shall be careful to perform all the decrees and the ordinances that I present before you today. So, real quick, the blessing mentioned here could be understood to refer to that which appears in the following verse. The blessing is that you will be able to listen to the mitzvot. So the blessing is that you'll be able to hear those commandments. But as Rashi there comments, that verse does not contain a blessing, nor does the passage specify a curse any more than it does a blessing. Rather, it speaks of the conditions which lead to a blessing or a curse. So the blessing on condition that you listen, Rashi tells us, in fact, that the blessing and the curse of our verse are that you listen to the commandments of Hashem, God will bless the people by ensuring that they will obey his command. So the blessing is that God will bless the people by ensuring that they continue to obey his commandments. But this can't be so, for God allows man to choose whether or not to obey his commandments. Free will. So, therefore, okay, so the verse is viewed as stating a condition. So the blessings are on condition that you listen. That's how we're to understand that. Okay, this is getting good. So, and the part where it says, and if you stray from the path, this means if you go to worship idols. Whoever believes in idolatry is like one who denies the Torah in its entirety. Excuse my itchy nose, everyone. Okay. Now we are in Perek 12. These are the decrees and the ordinances that you shall observe to perform in the land that Hashem, the God of your forefathers, has given you to possess it all the days that you live on the land. Okay. These are the decrees. So back in verse 26 of Perek 11, I present before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that you listen to the commandments of Hashem, your God. So these are the decrees of the ordinances, chapter 12, verse 1, that you shall observe to perform in the land. See, these you got to do in the land that Hashem, the God of your forefathers, has given you. All the days that you live on the land. Pursuit 2, you're going to destroy. You shall destroy. It says it twice. You shall destroy all the places where the nations from whom you shall take possession worshipped their gods. All those 7 nations of Canaan, you got to destroy all their idols. On the high mountains and on the hills, under every leafy tree, you shall break apart their altars. You shall smash their pillars and their asherim. You shall burn in the fire. Their carved images shall you cut down, and you shall destroy their names from that place. It's interesting because I'm thinking of like with the golden calf situation there on Mount Sinai. I think Moshe burned that thing, didn't he? He burnt that golden calf. Then he ground it up in powder and made everybody drink it. Okay. So let's see, where are we? Yeah, you shall burn it with fire, their carved images. So, wow. Basically, the point is that Rashi says, you should not do deeds like those of the nations who inhabited the land of Canaan. You shall not do so to Hashem. Verse 4. Okay, just looking. You shall not do so to Hashem, your God. Rather, only at the place that Hashem, your God, will choose from all your tribes to place his name there. You shall seek out his resting place and come there. And then shall you bring your olah offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and what is raised of your hand, your vow offerings and your free will offerings. So these are the things they're supposed to do when they get in the land. Your firstborn of your cattle and your flocks. You shall eat there before Hashem, your God, and you shall rejoice in all that you have undertaken, you and your household, as Hashem, your God, has blessed you. This is just, that's so cool. It makes me think of also when they were on Mount Sinai and Moshe and all leadership, they ate that meal before Hashem, in front of Hashem. It kind of sounds like the same thing where you get into the land and then, you know, you're going to do these things. But remember that Hashem is there in the land. So, like, don't forget that. Okay. And when you cross the Jordan, immediately you will be permitted to bring offerings on the bema, the altar. Wow. Sin offerings, guilt offerings. Okay, so, and remember we read all those offerings in Leviticus. So we know those offerings. Okay. So before Hashem, just rereading 7. And you shall rejoice in all that you have undertaken, you and your households, as Hashem, your God, has blessed you. You shall not do like all that we do here today, which is on the other side of the Jordan. Rather, every man what is proper in his eyes. for you will not yet have come to the resting place and to the heritage that Hashem your God gives you. Wow, so you will not do like we're doing here today. Rather, every man what's proper in his eyes. Rashi, what's happening here? You will not do all like what we did. It refers back to what was written above. For you are crossing the Jordan, etc. And our verse means to say, when you will cross the Jordan, immediately you will be permitted to bring offerings on the Bema for the entire 14 years of the conquest and the division of the land of Israel. And wow, you shall not offer up all that you offer here today at the tabernacle, which is with you and has been anointed and is thereby fit to offer it. The hatah offering, the guilt offering, the obligatory offerings. So it's not a bad thing. It's just saying, the way we're doing the offerings now, that's not how it's going to be. It's going to be a little bit different when you get in the land. I love reading the Rashi because in English, this stuff sounds so horrible. And it's not. It actually goes with the verse that preceded it. Okay. Wow. Okay, cool. And Bema or Bama is literally platform or high place. It's an altar other than that of the Beis Hamikdash, so the temple. So, or of the Mishkan. It was permitted to bring voluntary offerings on such altars until the Bama is all, I guess, little altars that you could use. And it was permitted to bring voluntary offerings on such altars, the Shlamim offerings, on such altars until the Beis Hamikdash was built. So once the temple was built, you couldn't do that anymore. Except during the period in the wilderness after the Mishkan, the tabernacle had been erected, and during the period in which the tabernacle was located in Shiloh. Wow. So they actually allowed little altars to be built all throughout Israel, that they could build these peace offerings and goodwill offerings all over the place until the big temple was built, and for the and also this short time that because it was in Shiloh for a couple hundred years, the tabernacle, the moving temple, if you will. Okay, let's get back to it. So you're not going to do what you're doing here today. The procedures to bring the offerings is going to be different when you get in the land. Verse 9, for you will not yet have come to the resting place and to the heritage that Hashem your God gives you. The resting place, interesting. Rashi says the resting place means that Shiloh. And the heritage, he says, means Jerusalem. 14 years is how long it takes them to clear out all these people. So, looking back on things, Rashi's saying it's going to take you 14 years to come into your heritage properly. You shall cross the Jordan, and you shall settle in the land that Hashem your God causes you to inherit. And he will give you rest from your enemies and all around, and you will dwell securely. Then it shall be that the place where Hashem your God will choose to rest his name, there you shall bring everything that I command you. The place where Hashem your God chooses to rest his name. Okay, listen to this. It shall be that at that place, you shall build for yourself, where Hashem wants to rest his name, you shall build for yourself the house of the choice, that is the Beis Hamikdash, or the temple in Jerusalem. The house of choice. The house of the choice. Isn't that an interesting name? And there you shall bring everything that I command you, your Olah offerings, your Shalamim offerings, your tithes, and what is raised of your hand, and the choicest of your vow offerings, that you will vow to Hashem. You shall rejoice before Hashem your God, you and your sons and your daughters, your slaves and your maidservants, and the Levite who is in your cities, for he has no share inheritance with you. Beware for yourself, lest you bring up your Olah offerings in any place that you see. Just reading that. Oops. Rather, only in the place that Hashem will choose. I wonder if that's the place. Is that the reason why it's called the House of the Choices? I don't know. House of the Choice. That is such a cool name. It's where God chose, perhaps? I'm just trying to see if there's extra notes on that. That is so cool. Okay. Only then the place where Hashem will choose, among one of your tribes, there shall you bring up your Olah offering. So in one of the inheritance areas of the tribes, Hashem's going to build his temple there. And he's going to let his name settle there, excuse me. I guess the Mishkan will settle there. And you shall do all that I command you. But in all the desire of your soul, you may slaughter and eat meat, according to the blessing that Hashem your God will have given you on all your cities. The impure one and the pure one, so the tahor and the tameh and the tahor, they may eat from it, like the deer and like the hart. The hart is some kind of deer. So this is interesting. So it says, you can eat meat according to the blessing that Hashem your God will have given you in your city. So what does that mean? Let's see. But in all the desire of your soul, you may slaughter. Okay, you may slaughter meat. You do not have in blemished offerings permission to use the animal's fleece or milk. Permission extends to nothing but eating by means of slaughtering. Slaughter implies that one may derive from a blemished offering only that benefit which requires slaughtering. One may eat it, but one may not take its wool or milk, for these are benefits that can be derived from the animal while it is alive. Oh, okay. So, slaughtering and eating meat according to the blessing that Hashem, your God, has given you has to do with benefiting from the animal, looks like. If you saw something different, please put it down below with your references. Verse 16, but you shall not eat the blood, you shall pour it onto the earth like water. You may not eat in your cities the tithe of your grain and your wine. And your oil and the firstborn of your cattle and your flocks and all your vow offerings. And you shall vow and your free will offering, that you shall vow and your free will offerings. And what is raised of your hand, rather you shall eat them before Hashem your God in the place that Hashem your God will choose. You, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maidservants, and the Levite who is in your city. So I guess when it comes to certain things, you gotta eat them where Hashem allows his name to rest. Wow, okay. So Rashi has a note here. It says, literally, you are not able, l'tochal. Where is that? Verse 17. You may not eat in the grains. You may not eat in your cities. And he says here, it's literally, you're not able. Similar to it, the Jebusites and inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah were unable to drive out. They were able, but they were not permitted to drive them out. Is that so? We get that from Sifrei 72. Because Abraham entered into a covenant with them. And when he took the cave of the Mekhilta from them, he purchased. And they were not the Jebusites, but rather they were the Hittites, right? But the verse refers to them as Jebusites because of the city whose name is Jebus. The Hittites occupied the city of Jebus from the original Jebusites and were subsequently called by their name. Jebus is another name for Jerusalem. You can see that in Judges 19:10. Thus it is explained in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. This is the meaning of which it says, unless you remove the blind ones and the lame ones. By blind ones and lame ones, the verse means statutes upon which they had written the oath. Of the Mekhilta. Oh, this is interesting. So they were not permitted to drive out the Hittites who got the name of Jebusites who were there before them because Abraham had purchased that land from them. So you can find that in Genesis, that story. And we do know in, I guess, is it 1st or 2nd Samuel? The blind ones and lame ones, that's, I forget. When it comes to, it's an old saying that they made it. I can't remember how it goes, but it's in Samuel. You'll see it. But they're saying that saying came about because when Abraham wrote that contract with the Jebusites, that's the whole that blind one means and lame ones means statutes and oaths. I would never put that together. Blind and lame, statutes and oaths. Okay. So your slave, your maidservant, and your Levite who is in your cities, and you shall rejoice before Hashem, your God, in your every undertaking. Beware for yourself, lest you forsake the Levite in all your days on the land. Don't forget to give him the tithe and stuff so he can continue doing the things he's doing. He's a government worker for Hashem. Pay the taxes. Verse 20, when Hashem, your God, will broaden your boundary as he spoke to you, and you say, I would eat meat. For it is the desire of your soul to eat meat. As all the desire of your soul, you may eat meat. Okay, what's wrong with that? But, okay, in the wilderness, Rashi's saying, in the wilderness, non-sacred meat, that is meat not of an offering, was forbidden to them. Oh, so they could only eat meat that they brought for a sacrifice, and then the portion that will go back to the person that brought the sacrifice. So he could not do that unless he would imbue it with sanctity and offer it as a shlamim. Oh, wow, the shlamim offering, that was the one that the person that brought it could eat with the Cohen. Oops, dropped my glass. Because the place where Hashem, your God, will choose to place his name will be far from you. You may slaughter your cattle and your flock that Hashem has given you, as I commanded you. And you may eat in your cities according to all the desire of your soul. But as the deer and the hart are eaten, so may you eat it. The impure, the tahor, and the tameh, and the tahor, the pure and the impure one, may eat it together. Only be strong not to eat the blood, for the blood, it is the soul, is the nefesh. And you shall not eat the nefesh with the meat. Do not eat with the blood with the meat. You are not to eat the soul with the meat, which is the nefesh. So this is a permittance. Hashem is permitting them now to eat meat that they weren't bringing for a shlamim offering. So before they had to bring the shlamim offering so that they could eat the meat. But now they can eat any kind of meat. They don't have to bring it for offering. And the Kohanim would, I guess, do whatever they did to the meat to prepare it. But now they have to do these things. That's why he's saying, be careful not to eat the meat. Oh, I never thought about that. I never realized that they didn't take care of their own meat. That the Kohanim did that. Wow, that's interesting. Excuse my itchy face. Allergies. Okay, let's go on to verse. He said, be strong and don't eat the blood. Be strong. Verse 24, you shall not eat it. You shall pour it onto the ground like water. That's that blood. You shall not eat it in order that it be well with you and your children after you. When you go into, when you do what is right in the eyes of Hashem. Only your holy offerings shall you carry and come to the place that Hashem will choose. So he was saying also, because the Mishkan, where he places his name, the place where he is going to say where his name should rest. You might live up in North Israel, and this is kind of like too far for you to be bringing this meat and stuff. So now he's giving these permittances. So only your holy offerings that you have and your vow offerings you shall carry and come to the place that Hashem will choose. So those are all only offerings that you have to bring to Hashem. Your holy offerings and your vow offerings. You shall perform your olah offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar of Hashem your God, and the blood of your peace offering, your shlamim offerings, shall be poured upon the altar of Hashem your God, and you shall eat the flesh. Safeguard and listen to all these matters that I command you, in order that it be well with you and your children after you forever. When you do what is good and what is right in the eyes of Hashem your God, and when Hashem your God will cut down the nations which you come to take possession from them before you, and you will take possession from them and settle in their land. Beware for yourself, lest you be distracted by them after they have been destroyed before you. How can you be distracted by someone that's gone? Onkelos renders this as there'll be a snare to you. But I say that he was not careful, this is Rashi talking, that he is not careful about being precise with the language, for we have not found the letter nun as a root in the form of the word trapping. Let's see, so it's okay. He curses the wicked one that he may have many creditors, and they will keep coming obsessively for his money. Okay, here we go. After you will have seen that I have destroyed them before you, you should take note why these were destroyed. Because of their degenerate actions in their hands, that is, which they committed. You too should not do so that others should not come and destroy you. Wow. Measure for measure. Okay, so be careful not to be distracted by them. Don't do what they did. And lest you seek out their gods, saying, how did these nations worship their gods? And I'll even do the same. You shall not do so to Hashem your God, for everything that is an abomination of Hashem that he hates, these people have done to their gods. For even their sons and their daughters, they've caused to be burned in the fire for their gods. Wow. So it says, exposing oneself for the idol name Peor, and exposing yourself, if we remember, from the Moabites, that's the one that you take the dump in front of. So you're exposing your buttocks to take a dump. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do any of these things, Hashem. Hashem was like, I don't want to see it. And even their sons and daughters, they burned in the fire. So it says, Rav Akiva said, I saw a non-Jew who tied his father up in front of his dog as he worshipped the God, and the dog ate the father. This Rashi commentary got some. I don't remember seeing all this in Safari. What? Okay, we're in chapter 13 now. Whoa. They burned in the fire for their gods. Parak 13. The entire matter that I command you, you shall guard it to do. You shall not add to it, and you shall not subtract from it. If there should stand up in your midst a prophet or a dreamer of a dream, and he will give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes about of which he spoke to you, saying, let us follow the gods of others that you did not know, and we shall worship them. Do not hearken to the words of this prophet or that dreamer of a dream, for Hashem your God is testing you to know whether you love Hashem your God. For God is testing you to know whether you love Hashem your God with all your heart, with all your soul. Hashem your God shall you follow, and Hashem your God shall you fear. Wow. Oh, wow. Hashem your God is testing you. And that's the answer. Why would God give a false prophet the power to perform signs? So it's interesting that the sages, Rashi is saying that the sages are talking about this, because it's not like the prophet's just saying, oh, let's worship these other gods. This prophet is actually kind of like doing things like the Egyptians. Like, he's able to do some miracles, and it would make you say, this is from Hashem. But he's like, no, it's a trap. It's a test. Don't fall for it. If he's doing these magic tricks and it's about another God, keep it moving. Okay. Hashem your God shall you follow, and him shall you fear. His commandments shall you keep, and to his voice shall you listen. Him shall you serve, and to him shall you cleave. And that prophet or that dreamer of a dream shall be put to death, for he hath spoken fabrication against Hashem your God, who takes you out of the land of Egypt, and who redeems you from the house of slaves, to make you stray from the path on which Hashem your God has commanded you to go, and you shall destroy the evil from your midst. Wow. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend who is like your own soul would incite you secretly, saying, let's go and worship the gods of others that you never knew, or your forefathers didn't know, from the gods or the prophets, and they want you to worship from the gods or the peoples that are around you, those near to you or those far from you, from the end of the earth to the end of the earth, you shall not take kindly to him, and listen to him. Your eye shall not take pity on him. You shall not be compassionate, and you shall not cover up for him. Rather, you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be the first against him to put him to death, and the hand of the entire people afterwards. You shall pelt him with stones, and he shall die. For he sought to make you stray from near Hashem. Wow, your God, who takes you out of Egypt from the house of slaves. Just checking time. All Israel shall hear and fear, and they shall not again do such an evil thing that is in your midst. If in one of your cities that Hashem your God gives you to dwell there, you hear saying, then sons of lawlessness have emerged from your midst, and they have caused the dwellers of their city to go astray, saying, let us go. Let us go and worship the gods of others that you have not known. And you shall seek out and investigate and inquire well, and behold, it's true. The word is correct. This abomination was committed in your midst. Smite. You shall smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword. You're going to lay it waste, and everything that's in it, and its animals with the edge of the sword. You shall gather together all its booty to the midst of the open square, and you shall burn in fire completely the city and all its booty to Hashem your God, and it shall be an eternal heap. It shall not be rebuilt. No part of the banned property may adhere to your hand, so that Hashem will turn back from his burning wrath, and he will give you mercy and be merciful to you and multiply you. As he swore to your forefathers, when you hearken to the voice of Hashem your God, to observe all his commandments that I command you today, to do what is right in the eyes of Hashem your God. And Moshe is really imploring to these people because he won't be there. He won't be there. It's just Joshua and the elders. And anytime you hear anything about idols, he said, if it's your mama, you got to pelt them with stones. You got to get rid of this evil. And he's going to bring these false prophets that can do things that you wouldn't believe somebody could do. And it's all for your testing, those false prophets. Okay, let's keep going. We have a bit more to go. Okay, for Pasuk 14, Parak 14. You are the children to Hashem, your God. You shall not cut yourselves like cuts your skin. You shall not make bald spots between your eyes for a dead person. Okay, Rashi says, you shall not make a cutting or a scratch in your flesh over a dead person, in the way that the Amorites do, because you are children of the omnipresent, and you are fit to be handsome. Ooh, and do not cut or make yourself bald. You gotta look good, he said. Okay. For you are a holy people to Hashem your God, and Hashem has chosen you for himself to be a treasured people from amongst all the people on the face of the earth. You shall not eat any abomination. These are the... Oh, is that it? You shall not eat from any abomination. Anything that I have made abominable for you. This is the general rule taught in the verse, that anything which becomes fit to be eaten through the violation of one of the laws of the Torah may not be eaten. Okay. These are the animals that you may eat. The ox, sheep, goat, the hart, some kind of deer. The deer and the yachmor. The ako, the dishon, the teo, the zamer, and every animal, I don't know what these are, that has a split hoof, which is separated with its that is separated with a split into two hoofs, that bring up its cud amongst animals, and you may eat. But this shall you not eat from amongst those that bring up their cud or have a separated split hoof. The Sheshua, the camel, the hare, the hyrax, for they bring up their cud, but their hoof isn't split. They are tameh to you, impure to you. And the pig, for it has a split hoof, but not the cud. It's tameh for you. From their flesh you shall not eat, and you shall not touch their carcass. And I just want to show you that our scroll's got a little, I don't know if you can see that, picture on the kind of hoof. No. The one on the other side, no. And the one in the middle, yes. That's a sheep hoof. All right. Verse 9. This you may eat of everything that is in the water. Anything that has fins and scales you may eat. And anything that does not, no catfish. It has to have fins and scales. But anything that does not have both fins and scales, you shall not eat of it. It is a tameh to you. You may eat every pure bird, every tameh, every tahor bird. This is what you shall not eat from amongst them. The nesher, the peres, the oznia, the re'ah, the ayah, the daya, according to its kind. What are these birds? And the bas hayana, the tachmos, the shachaf, the nets according to its kind, the cost, the yansh. Do these things still exist? The kas, the rechama, the shalah, the chasidah, the anafa, according to its kind, the duchufat, and the atalef, and every flying, creeping creature is impure to you. They shall not be eaten. You may eat every pure fowl, but you, they're tahor fowl, but you will not eat any carcass. To the stranger who's in your cities, you shall give it that he can eat it, or sell it to a non-Jew. But you are a holy people to Hashem your God, and you shall not cook a tender young animal in its mother's milk. And that's the halakha, the command to not mix milk and meat. And I'm just looking because he's got something here about the flying, creeping creature from verse 19. Did we get there yet? Yeah. And every flying, creeping creature is tameh to you; they shall not be eaten. But Rashi says, these are the low-lying ones which creep along the earth, such as flies and wasps and stuff, and non-kosher grasshoppers. They are called creeping creatures. Okay. Let's see now. So this is a negative commandment. This is a commandment that tells you what not to do. So if we go back to the beginning of Re'eh, remember Moshe said that you're supposed to do, it said, the blessing that you listen to the commandments, your God, that I command you today. The curse is that you do not listen to the commandments. And should you say to yourself, what are the commandments? It's these things that we're talking about. You may eat every tahar fowl, a pure fowl, but you shall not eat any carcass. To the stranger, you have to sell it to don't eat it. And don't cook a tender young animal in its mother's milk. Don't mix meat and dairy. These are the commandments. And you can see as we're reading them, there's more than 10. That shows you how it's the 10 categories. And all of these commandments fit somewhere in those categories. Okay. All right, let's go to Pasuk 22. Tithe. You shall tithe the entire crop of your planting, the produce of the field year by year. And you shall eat before Hashem your God in the place that he will choose to rest his name there, the tithe of your grain, your wine, your oil, the firstborn of your cattle, your flocks, so that you will learn to fear Hashem your God all the days. And this is interesting. Did I hear correctly that if you do these things, this is to help you to learn to fear Hashem? Let's see what Rashi says, if he says anything on that. No, he doesn't say anything on that. Okay. Pasuk 24. If the road will be too long for you, so that you'll not be able to carry it, it's going to be your tithing of your wine, oil, firstborn of your cattle, flocks. So if you live too far away, because the place that Hashem your God will choose to place his name, if it's too far from you, for Hashem your God will bless you. How? What would he do? Then you may exchange it for money, and wrap up the money in your hand, and go to the place that Hashem your God will choose, and you can spend the money for whatever your soul desires, for cattle, flock, wine, or hard drink, for anything that your soul desires, and you shall eat it there before Hashem your God, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. That's pretty cool. So if you're tithing and it's too far to take your stuff down there, you exchange it for money. Then when you get down there, you buy whatever it was, and then you partake of it there before Hashem, because he would have you rejoicing with him. That is so cool. And Pasuk 27, when the Levite who's in your cities, do not forsake him, for he does not have a portion or an inheritance with you. Make sure he gets some of that tithe. The one that lives in your city. At the end of 3 years, you shall take out every tithe of your crop in that year and set it down within your cities. Then the Levite shall come, for he has no portion or an inheritance with you. And the convert and the orphan and the widow who are in your cities, they shall eat and be satisfied. Because it's really amazing, because these would be the people that, These will be the people that don't have any inheritance, because inheritance passed from father to son, father to son. So if a woman's husband dies and she has no son, or I don't know, whatever, it passes on to somebody else, but she don't get it. If I understand correctly, the orphan has no father, so he has no inheritance. And that's orphan in Judaism. An orphan doesn't mean you don't have any parents. The orphan means you have no father. Your father is not alive to pass on anything to you. And then the convert, he has no father because he converted. So he has no inheritance because his father was not a Jew. So you see that these are the three classes that would not have any inheritance and therefore can't bring a tithe. So it looks like every 3 years you set some food down, or they eat from your tithe or something. Your crop, the tithe of your crop. And the Levite, so everyone who doesn't have an inheritance, they all get some of this. So that's really cool. So this, Rashi says, it's called the second tithe, and which this year belongs to the poor person, and you, the tither, should not eat it in Jerusalem in the manner which you are required to eat the second tithe of the 2 previous years. So every year, the third year, instead of going down to Jerusalem, you let the poor people eat it, and they shall eat and be satisfied. Give them enough for satisfaction. Oh, that's so beautiful. Man, Judaism is so beautiful. And they shall eat and be satisfied, in order that Hashem your God will bless you and all your handiwork that you may undertake. If you do that for them, Hashem will bless you. And by you doing this is the training for you to fear your God. Parak 15, at the end of 7 years, so we have the 3-year thing, now we're doing 7 years. You shall institute a release. This is the matter of the release. Every creditor shall release his authority over what he has lent his fellow. He shall not press his fellow or his brother, for he has proclaimed a release for Hashem. You will press the non-Jew, bent over what you have with your brother. You shall release your authority. What does that mean? How deadline for release would be no closer into the assumption line. Let's see. Every creditor shall release his authority. Okay, so Rashi says, similarly, it says, you shall release your authority. So what, okay. You will press the non-Jew. This is a positive commandment. This verse does not mean that we are obligated to press non-Jews to repay their debts. It means to add the force of a positive commandment to the explicit negative commandment that forbids pressing a Jew to repay. So what does that mean? Do they press the non-Jew to pay or not? I don't understand. Okay. If you know, please put something down below with some references to help out. However, there shall be no destitute amongst you for blessing. Hashem shall bless you in the land that Hashem your God will give you as an inheritance. Take possession of it. Only if listening. If you will listen to the voice of Hashem your God to observe and perform this entire commandment that I command you today, for Hashem your God has blessed you as he has spoken to you, and you will lend to many nations, but you will not borrow, and you will rule many nations, but they will not rule you. If there shall be a destitute person amongst you, one of your brothers in any of your cities in your land that Hashem your God gives you, you shall not harden your heart, nor shall you close your hand against your destitute brother. Rather, you shall open your hand to them and you shall grant him enough for his lack, which is lacking for him. Okay, so if you have a person who is pained over whether he should not give or should give, that is, he's torn between the desire to give and the desire to keep money, it says you're not going to harden your heart. You have the person who stretches out his hand to give, and you have the person who closes it. This is why it says, nor shall you close your hand against your destitute brother. If you will not give to him, your end will be to be a brother of one who is destitute. That means you'll be a destitute like him. Wow. Okay. Regarding ruling and lending over many nations, it just says one might be able to think that while you rule them, other nations would rule you. To teach us otherwise, the Torah says, but they will not rule you. And we just get a little glimpse of this when we see, especially in the, 1500s, 1600s, 1400s, all the famous sages who are Barbanel, who was taking care of the finances. He did the finances for Portugal, I believe. There's several sages who just did the financial, had control of the finances of kings, and really, they were really in power that way. I don't even know. Is that the same for the what do they call it? The Red Shields, the Rothschilds? I think they had something like that too with the banking. So you can see a little bit of this. I'm not sure if that's how Hashem intended it to go. Okay. Okay, we're in Pasuk 9. So opening you shall open your hand to him, and you shall grant him enough for his lack, which is lacking for him. Beware lest there be a lawless thought in your heart, saying, the 7th year approaches, the year of release, and you'll look malevolently upon your destitute brother, and you will not give him. Then he will call out against you to Hashem, and there will be sin upon you. Heta. Giving you shall give him, and let your heart not feel bad when you give him. For because of this matter, Hashem your God will bless you in all your deeds and in your every undertaking. For destitute people will not cease to exist within the land. Because of this I command you, saying, opening you shall open your hand to your brother, to your poor one, and to your destitute one in your land. If your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, will be sold to you, he shall serve you for 6 years, and in the 7th year you shall send him away from you free. But when you send him away from you free, you shall not send him away empty-handed. Extend. You shall extend a grant to him from your flocks, from your threshing floor, and from your wine pit. Oh, you give him a little bit to send off so he can go start his life now. With which Hashem your God has blessed you, so shall you give him. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Hashem your God redeemed you. Therefore I command you regarding this matter today. In the event he will say to you, I will not leave you. I will not leave you, for he loves you and your household, for it is good for him with you. Then you shall take the awl and put it through his ear and the door, and he shall be to you an eternal slave. Wow. Even a Jewish brother? How was that? And you shall return each man to his ancestral heritage, and you shall return each man to his family. So the verse is interpreted as implying that a slave who serves beyond the standard 6 years, because this is a Hebrew person. This is a Jew, not a non-Jew. This is a Jew that wants to stay in service. So the verse is interpreted as implying that a slave who serves beyond the standard 6-year term of slavery also goes free on the Yovel year. That's the 50th year, right? Okay, so I don't know. Even to your maidservant shall you do the same. It shall not be difficult in your eyes when you send them away free from you. For double the earrings of a hired worker he has labored for you 6 years, and Hashem your God will bless you in all that you do. Every firstborn male that is born in your cattle and your flock you shall consecrate in Hashem your God. You shall not work with the firstborn of your ox, and you shall not shear the firstborn of your flock. Before Hashem your God you shall eat it year by year in the place that Hashem will choose. Okay, so that's you're gonna bring that down to that where the altar is, these firstborn of the flocks of your ox, and your sheep. If it shall have a blemish, if it is lame or blind or has any serious blemish, you shall not slaughter it to Hashem your God in your cities. Shall you eat it, the impure one, the tameh one, and the tahara one alike, the deer and the hart. However, you shall not eat its blood. So, okay. You shall pour it on the ground like water. Okay, we're in Parak 16 now. Guard the mouth of Guard the month of the first ripened produce and perform the Pesach offering for Hashem your God. For in the month of first ripened produce, Hashem your God took you out of Egypt at night, and you shall slaughter a Pesach offering to Hashem your God from the flock and cattle in the place where Hashem will choose to rest his name. Okay, so we just went from, you got slaves, Jewish slaves, and what you're going to do with them, to the first of your flock and your sheep. You're not going to shear them. You're going to take them bad boys down to the altar where Hashem's name is, and you're going to eat it there with Hashem. And now we're going to look at the first month. Guard the month of first ripened produce, the first ripened produce, and you're going to perform the Pesach offering for Hashem. So we kind of get what time of year that is. You shall slaughter a Pesach offering. This is hold on, let me get back. It says because God took you out of Egypt at night, and it does say Lila, and there's a note here in Rashi that says on the day after the Pesach offering, the children of Israel went forth. But our verse says that God took the Israelites out of Egypt at night because Pharaoh gave them permission to depart at night. For it says, he called to Moshe and Aaron at night. Okay, and now Pasuk 2, you shall slaughter a Pesach offering to Hashem your God from the flock and cattle in place where Hashem will choose his name to rest his name. You shall not eat any leavened bread with it. For a 7-day period, you shall eat matzah because of it, the bread of affliction. You departed from the land of Egypt in haste. So will you remember the day of your departure from the land of Egypt and all the days of your life. Your leaven shall not be seen throughout your boundary, nothing in the whole land of Israel, for a 7-day period, and there shall not remain overnight any of the flesh that you slaughter in the afternoon on the first day until the morning. Oh wow, you get more details on this one. There's a quick note here. The reason it says, Rashi says back in Pasuk 3, you shall not eat leavened bread with it. For a 7-day period, you shall eat matzah because of it, bread of affliction, for you departed from the land of Egypt in haste. It said it's haste because Egypt urged the people to hurry. Get out of here. Okay, you may not slaughter the Pesach offering in one of your cities that Hashem your God gives you, except at the place that Hashem your God will choose to rest his name. So you have to slaughter your Pesach offering in the area where Hashem's name is. Whether it was Shiloh or whatever, but that's where it gets slaughtered. So you walk in that lamb down there. Your God will choose to rest his name. There shall you slaughter the Pesach offering in the afternoon. Or maybe you can get the money, maybe that one you can get the money and then buy it down there. Anyway, if you do know, please put the answers down below. Let me see if we can find something. You will slaughter the Pesach offering in the afternoon when the sun descends, the appointed time of your departure from Egypt. So you're slaughtering it at a certain time because that's when you left. Let's see. Here you have 3 distinct times, Rashi said. This implies, the afternoon implies from 6 hours, that is from the 6th hour of the day, and onward you shall slaughter it. When the sun descends, then you're going to eat it. And at the appointed time of your departure, you're going to burn it. That is to say, when it becomes nosar, and it must go out to the burning place. That is the place where disqualified offerings are burnt. You shall cook it and eat it in the place where the Hashem your God will choose, and you shall turn back in the morning and go to your tents. For a 6-day period you shall eat matzah, and on the 7th day shall be a restraining unto Hashem your God, and you shall not perform labor. Restraining. You shall count 7 weeks for yourselves when the sickle is first put to the standing crop, and you shall begin counting 7 weeks. Then you shall observe the festival of Shavuot for Hashem, your God, to the extent of what your hand can offer. It's entirely commensurate with the blessing of which God has blessed you. Oh, that's how you offer, according to how God has blessed you. Hashem your God will have blessed you. You shall rejoice before Hashem your God. You, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maidservant, the Levite who is in your cities, the convert, the orphan, and the widow who are among you, in the place where Hashem your God will choose to rest his name there. You shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and you shall observe and perform all these laws. You shall make the festival of Sukkot for a 7-day period, when you gather in from your threshing floor and from your wine pit. Okay, so we have Sukkot. And you shall rejoice on your festival. You, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maidservant, the Levite, the convert, the orphan, the widow who are in your cities. So you're rejoicing. So these festivals you're having with them now. A 7-day period shall you celebrate to Hashem your God in the place that Hashem your God will choose. For Hashem will have blessed you in all your crop and all your handiwork, and you will only be joyous. You are commanded to have joy. 3 times a year, all your malehood should appear before Hashem, those regalim times, in the place that he will choose, on the festival of Matzah, the feast of Shavuot, and the festival of Sukkot. It would be, for us, the feast of unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles. That's how we would say it in Western thought. And it shall not end, you shall not appear before Hashem empty-handed. If you ain't got nothing, don't come. And then you violating the commandment. See, here's a commandment. 3 times a year, all your malehood should appear before Hashem your God. That's a commandment. Let's see. This is not an expression, the expression of a promise. Okay, so it's saying the part where it says, and you will only be joyous. Rashi saying it's not a command, it's an expression of a promise. So like when you do this, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna be joyful. It's gonna be the best time. He's saying it's more like that. Don't appear before Hashem empty-handed now. So, for instance, one who has a lot of property, he should bring both many olah offerings and many peace offerings, shalomim offerings. Each man according to what his hand can give, according to the blessing that Hashem your God gives you. And that is the end of, wow, every weekend, man. That is the end of the Torah portion. Let me see. The Haftarah is on page 410. So let's turn to that. And let's read through that. So the Haftarah for Torah Parsha Re'eh is Isaiah 54, verse 11 through Isaiah 55, verse 5. O afflicted, storm-tossed, unconsoled one, behold, I shall lay your floor stones upon pearls and make your foundation of sapphires. I shall make your sun windows of rubies and your gates of garnets. What is this beautiful? What is this? And your entire boundary of precious stones. All your children will be students of Hashem. And abundant will be your children's peace. Establish yourself through righteousness. Distance yourself from oppression, for you need not fear it. And from panic, for it will not come near you. Behold, one need fear, indeed, if he has nothing from me. Whoever aggressively opposes you will fall because of you. Behold, I have created the smith who blows on a charcoal flame and withdraws a tool for his labor, and I have created the destroyer to ruin. Any weapon sharpened against you shall not succeed. Any tongue that shall rise against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servant of Hashem, and their righteousness is from me, the words of Hashem. Oh, everyone who is thirsty, go to the water. Even one who has no money, go buy and go and eat. Go and buy without money, without barter, wine and milk. Why do you weigh out money for that which is not bread, and fruit of your toil for that which does not satisfy? Listen well to me and eat what is good, and let your soul delight in abundance. Incline your ear and come to me. Listen, and your soul will rejuvenate. I shall seal an eternal covenant with you, the enduring kindness promised to David. Behold, I have appointed him a witness to the regimes, a prince and a commander to the regimes. Behold, a nation that you did not know you will call, and a nation that knew you will not run into you. For the sake of heaven, your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you. Wow, that was really interesting. Well, that was that Haftarah. So, I don't know, but it sounds like when you do what's right with Hashem, you get rubies and diamonds and gold and all these wonderful things in the sense of happiness, joy, plenty, all that good stuff. So, wow. And we get happiness every time we study Torah. So let's continue on. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov. And until next time.